Would you rather share a $250,000 STTR or keep all of a $250,000 SBIR? Most of the time, the SBIR is the right choice, but the pros know that there are 3 situations where the STTR is the better option. And as a bonus, we'll be talking with Katy, STTR program manager at MIT and my university partner on our recent DARPA STTR win, to share what it takes to partner with elite and selective universities like MIT. And quick aside, that DARPA STTR was way out of my league, and the only reason I won it was because I was teamed with MIT. So, speaking from experience, partnering with the right university can be make or break. So the first situation where an STTR is better than an SBIR is when you aren't credible enough to win an SBIR on your own. And this isn't meant to be insulting. I was in this group. So if your company is just you or you and a co-founder and you just incorporated and your tech is immature or unproven or only exists in the lab, then you probably aren't credible enough to win an SBIR. Let me explain how this plays out. So about half of an SBIR or STTR proposal is past work write-ups and resumes, and the government puts a lot of weight on these in the evaluation process. So you might have the best idea, but if your previous work and team section is thin or non-existent, it's going to show in your proposal. And this is a competitive program. So if another company has mediocre ideas, but tons of experience, and you have great ideas, but little experience, you're probably going to lose to them. But if you bid as an STTR, you can list the university's past work and personnel in your proposal. And the government loves this because they get the best of both worlds. They get your big ideas, and they get the university's credibility and track record of delivering quality R&D. So if you're new and you don't have many reference customers and projects, an STTR can dramatically increase your chances of winning. And if you haven't watched our video on SBIR basics, the core difference between an SBIR and an STTR is that with an STTR, you have to partner with a university and give them 30 to 50% of the award amount. While with an SBIR, you can go it alone and keep all the money. Also, let me clarify this whole choosing SBIR or STTR thing. Sometimes the government says what they want, whether they want an SBIR or an STTR. In that case, you don't get a choice, you have to do that. But AFWorks and NSF and a bunch of other agencies let you choose. So if you can choose the one that gives you the best chances of winning. The next situation where STTR may be better is if you'll have to hire people to do the work if you win. And this is a little confusing, so here's a quick example. Imagine you're creating a cybersecurity solution for 5G networks, but the government wants a cyber solution that works on 5G and 4G networks. And let's say you submit an SBIR and you win. So phase 1 will be about 6 months and $250,000, which sounds great, but to do the work, you need a 4G expert who's willing to work for you for 6 months during phase 1, then hang out for 9-ish months while the government decides what they want to do. And then if you win phase 2, start working for you again. And most people don't want that level of professional volatility and uncertainty. So the only quality people who might be open to this are scientific consultants. And the good ones are expensive, like cost more than the total value of the STTR expensive. So all of a sudden, that SBIR isn't looking so great. Now let's say you submit an STTR and win. It's still 6 months and $250,000, but instead of dealing with all that staffing mess, you give your university partner their 100-ish thousand, and it's on them to deliver a professor or grad student who's a 4G expert during phase 1, and it's on them to keep that person busy with coursework or other grants during the phase 1, phase 2 gap. And it's on them to deliver that person or someone equally qualified if you win the phase 2. So if you want to sidestep all those staffing challenges by leveraging university talent pools, consider an STTR. And before we get to the third STTR situation, I'd like to introduce Katy with MIT's Mission Innovation X. She's assessed hundreds of small businesses who want to partner with MIT on STTR, and she only chooses to work with a few. So Katy, thanks for joining us. When a company approaches you about an STTR, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for an early stage. They have science, they have a discovery, they have an invention, they have some peer-reviewed papers. They have, they might have like starting to come up with a prototype where some of the subsystems are getting developed and getting practiced and worked out, but maybe they definitely don't have something to sell like to consumers or an enterprise.
So beyond the technical maturity, like what else are you looking for when you're considering whether or not to pursue an STTR with someone?
I end up spending a lot of time with these teams, or at least one point of contact in these teams. And so a lot of it is that human. Like any enterprise sales, I want a really polished pitch, and I want somebody who's not going to oversell. They have to know their tech deeply. They have to understand the customer and show me that they have the chops to have really long-term customer relationships. And so it's a lot about trust and honesty and them not trying to oversell where they are in their journey of their startup.
What about experience with writing federal proposals? Is that important for you?
It isn't. I partner with a lot of companies that are writing their very first, or they'll even outsource it.
What can a company be doing ahead of time to set themselves up for success and be able to have the opportunity to partner with an elite university like MIT?
So the most successful partnerships that I've cultivated over the years are the ones that start out where somebody's attending one of my office hours, or the little mini course that we teach during IAP in January. And their early conversations, they're not ready to partner on STTR yet. They're just trying to find their bearings within the Department of Defense or US government, and also maybe even at MIT, or which center to partner with if there is one willing. So these conversations start way before the pre-release. If I get a note, an email like during the pre-release, and I do not know anything about that company, that's not happening. I'm punting it. So these conversations have to start very, very early.
So Katy, anything else that a company should be thinking about as they're considering applying for an STTR?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I've learned over the years from the university side that makes these very difficult. And so I think one thing is just patience and understanding that the university might have a very rigorous process where there's 10 different reviewers reviewing the documentation that we're submitting on our side just to get you a teaming agreement or a allocation of rights agreement. So knowing that, you can't, there's no shortchanging this process. There's no getting anything done early. Like if I say you're getting it the day before it's due, you're getting it the day before it's due, and I have no control. My boss has no control, and the administrators have no control. It's just a rigorous process. And so understanding that, and then even after it's awarded, all of those FAR and DFARS clauses are often flow downs. So the university wants a copy of your contract and will read it and will find the ones that are in direct conflict with the university policy, pull that out and say, we can't agree to these. And then the startup has to negotiate that with the government on the university's behalf because they're the prime. So that can always be a little bit tricky. There is typically a process for that, a fundamental research determination that the government provides. But it's only one time has it been easy.
Well, Katy, thank you again for joining us. And look forward to having you again on soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
And I'd also like to say thank you to J2 and FedScout for sponsoring this video. If you're looking for venture capital and you've gotten federal funding, or the government really should buy your product, reach out to the federal market's leading dual-use VC, J2. And if you're looking for help finding, understanding, and pursuing government grants and contracts, FedScout will help you at every step. Links to both are in the description. And the third situation is if you just want to increase your chances of winning. Generally, the competition for STTRs isn't as fierce as it is for SBIR. In fact, a lot of the time, STTRs only get one proposal. And I'm not great in math, but I like those odds. So all this theory is great, but if you want to know how this plays out in real life, check out our conversation with a wildly successful startup that STTR funded their company on the left. And to learn more about how to position your company to get SBIR and STTR funding, check out the video on the right.